Hello, my friends, and welcome to Love in Action, which we call Loops and Scoops. And it's really about us using the power of our attention to connect deeply, to enjoy giving and receiving attention, and to remember that attention is our biggest source of nourishment and choice. And that when we're able to shift our attention, we stir the aliveness pot, number one, and number two, we weave our sense of being with ourselves, but also with what's around us. And there were a couple of things that were occurring to me as I was preparing for today. I had this line from Peter Rabbit open come into my mind, and I'm probably paraphrasing. I was trying to look it up, I couldn't find it, but in it's that they would allow the rabbits to go out and to spend as much time as they liked looking at the greenery because green is so good for the eyes. And that was the line that I remembered, that green is so good for the eyes. And what I was thinking about is what nourishes your attention. And for me, it's a focus on beauty, and not only creating beauty, but being a source of beauty. That when I look, I'm looking for beauty. I'm not looking for what's wrong. So much of what we do with our attention and so much of our brain wiring is wired up for what's wrong. And so making that shift into where is there beauty? Where are there shapes and colors and textures that, like, as I'm looking out into the front, I'm seeing many, many different shades of green, for example. And so just the focus on the nuances of all of the beauty in the world is one thing I wanted to suggest to us. And then the other is seeing yourself, experiencing yourself, and seeing others as evolving works of art. So the mostly our brains are wired also to, before we even are using our problem solving brain, our brains are wired to friend or foe, friend or foe. And I experienced that we can shift that orientation so that we're looking for and opening to seeing all others as works of art and seeing ourselves as evolving works of art, because we have this sense of, well, I'm not perfect yet, and so I don't deserve to give myself any loving attention, or I messed up today, and so I've dropped off from my goal of perfection. But what if you tried on experiencing yourself first as a work of art? And then notice what comes up in your brain when you do that. Like, oh no, I couldn't possibly. So just notice that, and then return to where in you are you most available for experiencing yourself as a work of art. So as I was asking myself that, I immediately got my throat and my voice, that I'm willing to experience my voice as an evolving work of art. So maybe it's your warmth. It might be what we call a genius quality, that something about you, your kindness, your seeing others, seeing the possibilities for others. So that opening to yourself as a work of art, let your attention rest on that for a moment. Let your attention rest on the part of you that, or the whole area, or your whole self as a work of art. And then notice if there are any little movements, shifts, opening of your breath that happens when you think, oh, I'm an evolving work of art. Oh, if you kind of tickle yourself, or you create some effervescence in yourself, and let that effervescence create buoyancy in you that can allow you to, in the midst of whatever chaos is going on at the moment, you can come home to experiencing yourself as an evolving work of art. And then I want to invite you to let yourself gaze at the other people who are on the call and let yourself experience them, being willing to experience them as a work of art, and then notice where your attention goes. So it may be to an openness, or it may be to a certain rhythm that you see, or it may be a feeling that you have, a sensory experience that you have as you look at someone. And that flow of, oh, and you're an evolving work of art, and oh, and I'm an evolving work of art. I notice that when I do that, I start getting some movement in my body that feels more fluid. It feels more rounded rather than So I'd like you to let yourself just be letting your gaze move between you and other people. And because most of us have been trained not to give attention to ourselves because that's selfish, and when you let your attention, can you let it rest on you and actually experience yourself like moving around in the world as an evolving work of art? And whether you'd be willing to have other people see you as an evolving work of art. Notice what comes up into you, like, oh, all of the, couldn't possibly, oh, it's all about you. It's better to give than receive. So you are the source of beauty and art and deliciousness in your life. And I invite you to let the circulation of attention, which is what we're practicing, to let it land. And notice if it wants to land and maybe spread to some other areas in you. So letting your breathing and your gentle movement continue to open more spaces that you might have gone, oh, well, no, everything, but not my thighs. No, they're definitely not a work of art. And if they would be, it would be a Rubens for sure. So letting yourself land, letting that circulate, and then letting yourself. So for me, an evolving work of art means that I'm giving my sensitive awareness to the uniqueness, the shapes, the forms, the interrelationship, the textures, the way that I experience those that also then open. Because I was thinking that this is with all of what is going on in the world right now, there's a tendency to want to just close, and certainly are welcome to do that. And opening to beauty, opening to that everywhere we are, there is beauty being created, because that's how nature is operating. So everything in nature is becoming, flowering and then falling away. So even I experience the leaves that are falling as their own works of art. So in every stage of life, we are and can be creating beauty. And so I want to invite you to let yourself look out to around you, maybe even far, and maybe even imagining places that you can't see, but you can imagine them. And imagine the works of art, the beauty that also comes from kindness, the opening that comes from being willing to let other people be in the same space with you. And then again, coming back to you and noticing where in you is wanting to close up, and giving your loving attention to that place. So it may be in your heart, it may be in your shoulders, it may be in your back, and letting yourself give your loving attention to what's wanting to happen right there. As I give my attention, is there sound that I may be wanting to make? Is there touch that I'm wanting to give? Is there a sense of heaviness that I can bring my breath to, that I can let breath circulate and open? I find also that the pace, the tremendous speediness of our cultures is one of the things that I can directly counter with finding the most leisurely spreading out into just giving attention to myself, and then letting my attention circulate in a leisurely way rather than a frantic way. When I open up to softening rather than hardening. So as you're giving your attention, both out here, looking for the softness, looking for the connections, feeling into, when you come back to you, feeling into maybe a hard part or a protected part, can toss back and forth with softness. So noticing any place in you that you are experiencing softness right now, and seeing how your breath, your movement, your sound, there may be sounds. Humming is a great softener. The and letting that wind around any place in you that's feeling hard, that's feeling closed. And I find when I do that, that there's I'm not even wanting to say slowing down, because that, gets us into that dichotomy of slow and fast, but a being with in a comprehensive way. And for me, I get more leisurely, more, instead of boom, 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 I get more flowy. And there's so much of a call to be hard and fast and firm and finding any of those places in you. And I was just remembering how much I love it when Gay goes by and he gives me a little pat. So I was just, you might have a gesture that you can give to yourself. It could be a pat, or it could be a stroke, or it could be just a holding. And all of those are forms, in my opinion, of fear melters. Because when we get into fear, when we get into fight, which is going on big time right now, and flee, which is also going on big time right now. So rooting is also a way of connecting to the beauty, the fullness, the Mother Earth home, and letting yourself land, feeling your feet, feeling your roots being nourished by the earth, and that nourishment opening up to any places that have gotten dry or hard or parched. And when you're giving your attention out, so I'm noticing as I am willing to use my fear melters, but using my attention to be looking for what the evolving works of art, I can see buds coming up in various places, even though we're going into fall. Notice where life is occurring and where life might be wanting to occur and can with your attention. Because very often the closing is from people not experiencing that loving attention. So what I want to invite you into this week is letting yourself keep coming home to, even in the midst of chaos, we have the power to find beauty, to support kindness, to give kindness to ourselves, and to notice that that creates openings and places where we can connect and weave and appreciate that people can choose. We can choose to see each other as our allies, as people that we can appreciate. And and at least it's going to give you that sense of refuge, homecoming, in times of stress, which we're experiencing right now. Well, my goodness, that went very quickly. So now I'm going to pull up Presence Connect Play and see what we got here. Oh, so presence is let your whole self turn toward what's happening. Pretty good, huh? I love how our weave then goes into Presence Connect Play. So letting your whole self turn toward what's happening and the wholeness of what's happening, which includes a lot that we don't know, a lot that is on the verge of happening, a lot that's moving through, and a lot that's happening between. So my sense is also that nothing is ever going to shift until turning toward is another way of facing. So facing and letting yourself turn toward gives you a chance to respond to the whole of what is happening, not just a narrow part of it. And connect. I love this. Connect is listen appreciatively. I've been noticing over the last week, especially, a renewed appreciation for the power of listening. Because a lot of us may be thinking, what can I do? What can I do? How can I be of help? And you're going to have opportunities all day, every day, to listen appreciatively. That is to give your sensitive awareness. And listening, I found that people don't shift until they're actually really listened to. Mm-hmm. And we can also deeply listen to ourselves, because we might be, fear and anxiety and keeps us from dropping into the power of listening. I think of as both watering the flowers, but also opening for a person to step into the unknown. So rather than recycling what you've always been saying, what you've always been thinking, that listening appreciatively allows us to connect at that deepest level of humanity. And then play fear melters. So when in doubt, fear melters. So I've been using some form of fear melters pretty continuously. So remember, they can happen in very small movements. They can happen in big movements. You can imagine them. So I do fear melters while I'm driving. So grounding yourself, especially right now, in the ongoing practice of fear melters. So thank you so much for making time for this. I'm so appreciate, in the midst of everything that's going on, this is where I come to go, okay, homecoming, welcoming, and so appreciate having new faces and familiar faces, and would love to have you just continue that giving and receiving of attention. And please stay on the call and share as much as you would like. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.